What I want to share with you today is an event that left a mark on my heart and changed my life. You ever carry a truth so heavy, it bends your whole life without you even knowing? Well, here's mine. I helped raise my neighbor's child for almost 20 years, only to learn she was mine. I know. It sounds impossible. It sounded impossible to me too. But let me take you back to the moment everything shifted. It was a warm evening, late summer, the kind where the air hangs thick and the world feels slower. I had just turned 60, and something about that number made me reflective, tender even. I was sitting on my porch, watching the neighborhood I'd lived in my whole life. Same cracked sidewalks, same rust-kissed mailboxes, same kids laughing where their parents once stood. And then I saw her, Talia. The girl I'd fed, braided hair for, scolded, prayed for. My neighbor Marlene's daughter. Or so I believed. She walked toward me with that tired smile she always wore after her nursing shifts. But that day, her eyes looked different, darker, searching. She sat beside me, real quiet at first. Then she said, "Auntie Lynn, we need to talk." I felt something cold slide down my spine. Marlene had been gone 5 years now. Cancer took her fast, and Talia never used that tone unless it was serious. "What is it, baby?" I asked. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Old paper. My name written in Marlene's handwriting. My heart started beating slow, then fast, then uneven. I opened it. Read the first line. Stopped breathing. "Lynn, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And there's something I never had the courage to tell you. About Talia." And just like that, my whole life tilted. Speak. The paper felt warm in my hands, like it had been waiting years just to burn me. I breathed in slow, and started reading. "Lynn, you were always stronger than me. And maybe that's why I never told you the truth. I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of what you'd think of me." My chest tightened. I could hear Marlene's voice, as clear as if she were sitting beside me. Laughing that soft little laugh she used to hide her nerves. She went on. "There was a night, long ago, when I made a mistake. A terrible one. And the consequences fell on both of us." I swallowed hard. My fingers shook, crinkling the paper. "Marlene, what did you do?" But the letter didn't slow down. It just cut deeper. "Talia wasn't supposed to be mine, Lynn. She was supposed to be yours." Everything around me went quiet. The crickets. The street. Even my own heartbeat. Mine? My child? I looked up at Talia, standing there like she was bracing for an earthquake. Her eyes were full. Fear, confusion, hope, all mixing together like a storm. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The world felt too small to hold what I'd just learned. The letter continued. "I know this will break you. But I couldn't leave this world carrying a lie that big. You deserved the truth, and so does she." I pressed the letter to my chest. And for the first time in years, I felt something crack open inside me. Whispered, my daughter, my own daughter, had been living 10 steps away. I looked at Talia and whispered, "Baby, come sit with me." And she did, slowly, like she knew our lives were about to change forever. Talia sat beside me, quiet, shaking, and I felt that old familiar instinct rise in my chest. The instinct to protect her, to shield her, to hold her. Only now, I understood why. I took a deep breath and kept reading Marlene's letter. It happened on a night you don't remember, Lynn. But I do. Every second of it. The words pulled me backward, decades back to a time when we were young, reckless, and trying to survive this world the best way we knew how. Marlene wrote, "We were both struggling then. You were working nights, exhausted, barely holding yourself together after that breakup with David. I'd never seen you so broken. I felt my stomach twist. Those were the darkest months of my life. I remembered the crying, the sleepless nights, the mistakes I made just trying to numb the hurt. That night, you came to my door, confused, shaking, crying. You kept saying you didn't feel right. You didn't feel safe." My breath caught. Pieces of that night flickered in my memory like shadows behind fogged glass. Marlene continued. "You collapsed on my couch. You were mumbling, drifting in and out. I knew something had happened to you. Something bad. But you refused to go to the hospital. You begged me not to call anyone." My hands began trembling. Was this why my memory of that night was so broken? So scattered? Then came the line that shattered me. "You were already pregnant, Lynn. You just didn't know it." The ground beneath me felt like it tilted. I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears. Talia's hand brushed mine, soft, unsure. "Auntie Lynn, I'm sorry." I didn't know either. I turned toward her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I started to see myself in her face. I held that letter like it was the last piece of my past, and maybe it was. I kept reading, even though every word cut deeper than the last. When you woke up the next morning, Lynn, you were scared. More scared than I'd ever seen you. I closed my eyes. I could almost feel the weight of that fear again, the way it sat on my chest, heavy and cold. Marlene continued. "You kept saying you couldn't have a baby alone. Not again. Not in the state you were in. You said you weren't strong enough, and that you didn't trust yourself." My breath trembled. I remembered that part of my life painfully well, the depression, the panic attacks, the feeling that I was disappearing from myself. "You begged me not to tell anyone you were pregnant. You made me swear to keep it quiet." The words hit me like a blow. Because somewhere, buried under years of survival, I did remember that conversation, me whispering things I never wanted another soul to hear. Then came the line that hollowed out my chest. "I promised you, Lynn, and I kept that promise, even when it cost me everything." Talia's eyes filled with tears. "She raised me alone," she said quietly. "Mama always told me she wasn't meant to be a mother, but she tried." I nodded, throat tight. I remembered Marlene, her tired eyes, her missed paychecks, her constant guilt, her fierce love for a child she knew wasn't hers. The letter went on. "When I held her, your baby, I knew you weren't ready. And I knew she needed someone who could stand up straight when you couldn't. So I stepped in. But I never stopped hoping you'd get strong again. Strong enough to want her back." I felt tears slip down my cheeks. Silent. Hot. Uncontrollable. I hadn't just lost my daughter. I had given her away, and I didn't even remember why. I stared at the last line of Marlene's letter until the words blurred. Like the truth itself was too bright to look at straight. Talia sat beside me, quiet but trembling, waiting for a mother she never knew she had, and a truth she never asked for. I finally spoke. "Talia, baby, I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know." Her breath hitched. "I believe you. But it still hurts." Those words carved right through me, not because she blamed me, but because she didn't. I looked down at my hands. Old hands. Hands that had held her as a baby without understanding why it felt so natural. Hands that had wiped her tears, fixed her hair, packed her lunches, never knowing they were doing what they were born to do. I swallowed the ache rising in my throat. "Marlene should have told me," I whispered. "But I should have remembered too." Talia's voice shook. "Mama always said you were special to her. She said you were the one person she trusted." I let out a long, trembling breath. Trusted. She trusted me so much she carried my secret until the day she died. Protected me from my own trauma. Protected my child from the chaos I was drowning in. Then a wave of guilt hit me so strong, it made my vision swim. "I left you," I said. "I didn't mean to, but I did." Talia wiped her face with the back of her hand. "You didn't leave me. You were sick, and Mama did what she thought was right. I'm not angry at you, Lynn. I'm just confused." Her calling me by my name, not Mama, cut deeper than anything Marlene wrote in that letter. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Not fully. But she didn't hold on either. We were somewhere in between, mother and stranger. Connected. But raw, unsure, hurting. And I knew then this wasn't a truth you solved in one conversation. It was a truth you had to survive. I leaned back in my chair, letting the evening air cool my face. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't know what to say. You know, people talk about motherhood like it's something simple. Like it's just a title you earn by giving birth. But sitting there with Talia, I realized, slow, it ain't that simple at all. I looked at her, and this thought rose up inside me soft, painful, honest. What if I don't know how to be her mother? And Lord, that question scared me. Because I'd spent my whole life loving this child in the only way I knew. As a neighbor, as a friend, as the auntie who always showed up. But never as the woman who brought her into this world. So I took a breath and said, "Talia, I don't expect anything from you. Not the word, Mama. Not forgiveness, not closeness, nothing." My voice cracked. I felt it. She did too. I told her, "I just want to know you, the real you. Not the little girl from next door. Not the child I thought belonged to someone else. But asterisk, my asterisk child. If you'll let me." She wiped her cheeks again. She always cried quiet, just like me. Then she said something that knocked the wind out of me. "I don't know how to be someone's daughter, either." I felt tears rise up before I could stop them. Because in that moment, I realized we were two women standing in the same broken doorway, both trying to step through. Both scared of what was on the other side. We weren't mother and daughter yet. But we weren't strangers anymore either. We were something new. Something fragile. Something still forming. And I knew if we were ever going to heal, we'd have to learn each other from the beginning. Slow. Soft. Honest. One small truth at a time. The next morning I woke up before the sun. Couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling the same thought, slow. How do you meet your own child for the first time? See, people think reunion means fireworks, tears, hugs, instant healing. But real life is quieter, messier, slower. I made coffee, 2 cups. 1 black for me, 1 with too much cream for Talia. That's how she always liked it. Funny. I'd known her preferences for years, yet never known the reason why my heart felt so tied to them. She came downstairs looking tired, eyes a little puffy. But she smiled, soft, cautious. I handed her the cup. Figured you'd need this. She took it, stared at it for a second, then whispered, "You always remembered how I take my coffee." And just like that small little sentence, my whole chest warmed. We sat at the kitchen table, not talking at first, just breathing the same air, letting the new reality seep in. Then she said, "I always wondered why I felt safe with you. Safer than with anyone." And I almost broke. I told her the truth. Some bonds don't wait for explanation. They just exist, long before we understand them. She looked down at her hands, then up at me. "So, where do we go from here?" That question hit harder than anything in that letter, because I didn't have an answer. Not a right one, not a safe one. So I said the only thing I could. We start small. You tell me something about you. I'll tell you something about me. No expectations. No pressure. Just truth. She nodded, slow, careful. Like someone stepping onto a bridge that might hold or collapse. Whispered. And that morning, over 2 cups of coffee, we took our first real step toward each other. As mother and daughter. Not fully. Not perfectly. But honestly. We spent the next few days circling each other gently, like 2 people afraid to touch a bruise that still hurts. One evening, Talia and I sat on the porch. Same place where the truth first found us. The sky was turning that soft orange color, the one that makes the whole world feel quieter. She didn't look at me when she spoke. I used to think something was wrong with me. Those words, they hit deep, too deep. I turned toward her slowly. "What do you mean, baby?" She kept her eyes on the horizon. I felt unwanted sometimes. Mama loved me, but she always looked tired, like she was carrying something too heavy. And oh, Lord, that hurt, because I knew exactly what Marlene had been carrying. My secret. My child. Her guilt. My pain. Talia continued. I never understood why I looked different from her. Why we argued so much. Why she cried when she thought I couldn't hear her. I felt my chest tighten. I had missed all of that. Missed the tears, the questions, the ache of a girl searching for something she couldn't name. So I told her the truth. The kind that tastes like salt when it leaves your mouth. Marlene wasn't tired of you, Talia. She was tired of the secret. She carried it alone because of me. Talia finally looked at me, eyes shining, lips trembling. Then why did she never tell me? Why did she let me grow up thinking I was a burden? I reached for her hand, slow, careful. She wasn't protecting herself. She was protecting *me. She was afraid the truth would destroy me and confuse you. And Lord knows, she wasn't wrong. Talia wiped her face, shaking her head. I wish she'd trusted me enough to tell me. And I whispered the hardest truth of all. Sometimes love makes us hide things we should have faced. We sat there, 2 wounded souls sharing the same silence, realizing that the past hadn't just broken us. It had bound us. Forgiveness. People talk about it like it's a switch you flip. On. Off. Done. Healed. But let me tell you something. Slow. Forgiveness is heavy. Real heavy. A few days after that porch conversation, Talia asked if we could visit Marlene's grave. I wasn't ready. Lord knows I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. Sometimes readiness doesn't matter. Love pushes you forward. We drove in silence, the kind of silence that sits between two people who aren't sure how to breathe around each other yet. When we reached the grave, Talia walked ahead of me. I hung back, letting her have that moment. She knelt down, touched the stone, and whispered words too soft for me to hear, too sacred for me to interrupt. Then she turned to me. I'm angry at her, but I miss her too. My heart squeezed tight. I said, "Two things can be true at the same time, baby. You can miss her and still be hurt." She looked at me with eyes full of storm clouds. "Do you forgive her?" That question. Lord, it hit me like cold water. I stepped closer to the grave and whispered the truth. I don't know. Not yet. She kept my daughter from me. But she also protected her. She protected me too. I loved her. And she broke me. My voice cracked. Forgiveness ain't a doorway you walk through once. It's a long road, and I'm still on it. Talia wiped her tears. She whispered, I want to try too, but I don't know how. I reached for her hand, and this time, she held on to me. Really held on. Right there, in front of the woman who raised her, and the woman who gave birth to her. We took another step toward forgiveness. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Time has a way of softening the edges of pain, not erasing them, just softening them enough so you can hold them without bleeding. Weeks passed. Me and Talia kept showing up for each other, slow, steady, careful. A text in the morning. A cup of coffee together. A walk around the neighborhood at sunset. Small things. But small things can heal big wounds. One evening, she came over after her shift. She looked tired, the kind of tired that lives behind the eyes. She sat on my couch, curled up like she used to as a kid. Funny how the body remembers what the mind forgets, she said. Can I ask you something? I nodded. Why didn't you ever have kids after me? That question opened a door I hadn't walked through in years. I took a slow breath. I did try, but life had other plans. Loss changes you. Fear changes you. And after a while, I convinced myself motherhood wasn't meant for me. She looked down, twisting her fingers together. So I was your only chance? I reached for her hand this time, with no hesitation. You weren't my chance, baby. You were my blessing. I just didn't know how to claim you then. But I'm here now. Her eyes filled, slow, heavy. She whispered, Can I call you Mama, if you want that? My whole body shook. I hadn't heard that word in decades, not directed at me, not meant for me. I leaned in, voice breaking. Baby, I've been waiting 60 years to hear you say that. She wrapped her arms around Minnow gently, not carefully, but fully. Completely. Like someone choosing home. In that moment, the past didn't disappear. But it loosened its grip. And something new took its place. Something softer, steadier, whole. Love. Not the kind born from perfection, but the kind rebuilt from broken pieces, stronger because of the cracks. Slow. A mother found her daughter. Her daughter found her mother. And we named it love.